Oh, hello. Anybody out there? I am live. I am here, Lisa Marie, to start reading The Greatest Miracle in the World by Augmendino. I keep thinking in my head with edits with Wanda. Never mind. Wanda. Her last name just escaped me. She reads the God Memorandum, and she's got a video on YouTube, and she has just this beautiful, fluent voice. She does such a fabulous job, which I am going to attempt very soon too. But I don't have that fluid, nice voice. I have Lisa's voice. That's it. So anyway, I am in the midst of my 100-day challenge of reading the God Memorandum every single night before I go to bed for 100 days in a row. And tonight, I am on day 74. Day 74. Wow. You know what? This is good in so many ways, and I'm going to give you guys a full recap of my experiences because I will finish it. I mean, I have not gone 74 days to stop it now. I am absolutely going to finish it, and it is changing a lot of ways that I think. Ways that I handle situations, just so many small detailed things. And I know that my lives are down in count. I've had a few issues with Facebook. Can't seem to resolve them on a great note, but you know what? It is what it is. So if they don't want to show my videos, I upload them anyway to YouTube. So, you know what? I think that's going to be my new stomping ground. I just have to go with the changes, and Facebook just is not doing it for me. It is just not doing it for me. I'm sure there are many out there that it does, but it doesn't for me. And if it's not working for me, yeah, I need to switch it up a bit. So anyway, let's get back to the good news. And the good news is this book. I got to tell you, look at how many pieces this book is in. I got this. That's what happens when you read it every day for 74 days. I got a new one ordered. It should be here soon, hopefully, before this is in too many more pieces. But anyway, I'm going to start with chapter 1 because I thought, the first few times I attempted to do my 100 days with this, it didn't, I wasn't even close. I'm sorry. I was not even close. It was like, good grief, what's wrong with me? But I think it was just a simple fact because, the God Memorandum, which I do give that to people. If I feel that they would enjoy something like that, I gift this a lot. And my mentor challenged me to 100 days in a row. He said, if you could do that and read that God Memorandum before you went to bed every night, and if you miss a day, you start all over. Okay? And I made many attempts over the last probably 4.5, at least 4 years. What a shame, because had I done this correctly the first time, I may not be exactly where I am right now. I may be quite a bit further, but time will tell. That's all I can say. Time will tell. This book, I absolutely love it. I love it. The chapter, though, reading, that's all I had at first was a PDF of chapter 9. That was it. I knew nothing about the book, The Greatest Miracle in the World. I knew nothing about it. All I knew that the God Memorandum was chapter 9 out of that book. And that was the challenge, 100 days. And I never read the book. But you know what? This time I had. I've actually read it a couple of times and I loved it. And then that challenge with chapter 9 for 100 days, then that made sense. It all made sense to me. This is a really heartwarming story about a rag picker that got sent down from heaven to earth, back to earth again, and to help the people that gave up on themselves, people that gave up on themselves and their lives. You know what I mean? And how many of us do that? How many out there do that? So listen up if you want. If not, no big deal. But I'm going to read chapter 1, and I'm going to continue on my 100 days. Tonight is 74, and I usually make that post in the morning. I'm going to finish out this challenge reading this book, and I may bop on here at different times, and the evening just may be at, we'll see how that goes. So anyway, I'm going to start with chapter 1. The first time I saw him, he was feeding pigeons. By itself, the simple act of charity is not an unusual sight. One can find old people who themselves look as if they could use a good meal, dropping crumbs for the birds on the wharfs of San Francisco, the Common in Boston, the sidewalks of Times Square, and points of interest in every city. But this old man was doing it at the peak of a brutal snowstorm that, according to the all-news station on my car radio, had already dumped a record-breaking 26 inches of snow. White misery on Chicago and the suburbs. With rear wheels spinning, I have finally inched my car up through that slight sidewalk incline to the gate of the South Park lot, a block behind my office. When I first noticed him, he was standing at the ebb of the monstrous snowdrift, oblivious of the elements, rhythmically removing what appeared to be breadcrumbs from a brown paper bag and dropping them carefully into a cluster of birds that swirled and swooped and swirled and swooped. I got distracted, my bad. Around the folds of his nearly ankle-length army-style overcoat. I watched him through the metronomic sweeps of my hissing windshield wipers as I rested my chin on the steering wheel, trying to generate sufficient willpower to open my car door, step out into the blizzard, and walk to the gate, to the release box. He reminded me of those St. Francis garden statues that one sees in plant and shrubbery stores. Snow almost completely covered his shoulder-length hair and had sprinkled itself through his beard. Flakes had even attached themselves to the heavy eyebrows, further accenting his dark, high cheekbone features. Around his neck hung a leather cord, and attached to it was a wooden cross which swayed from side to side as he dispensed tiny bits of the staff of life. Tied to his left wrist was a piece of clothesline, which led down to where it was wrapped around the neck of an old multicolored basset hound whose ears dragged deeply into the accumulation of whiteness that had been falling since yesterday afternoon. Hey, Cyprian, how are you? Thanks for hopping on. Hi, Lori. Thanks for hopping in for a second. You too, Luann. Okay, the 26-mile trip from home to the office had consumed more than 3 hours, half a tank of gas, and nearly all of my patience. My faithful 240Z, its transmission whining a constant monotonous complaint in low gear, had run a broken field course past countless stalled trucks and cars along Willow Road, down Eden's Expressway, along Touhy Avenue, across Ridge, east on Devon, and past the Broadway intersection to the parking lot on Winthrop Street. It had been insanity on my part to even make the attempt to get to work that morning. But for the previous 3 weeks, I had been touring the United States promoting my book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. And after I had told 49 radio and television audiences, plus more than 24 newspaper reporters, that perseverance was one of the most important secrets of success, I didn't dare let myself be defeated, even by that angry witch Mother Nature. Furthermore, there was a board of director meetings scheduled for the coming Friday. As Success Unlimited magazine's president, I needed this Monday and every other day this week to review our past year's performance and next year's projections with each department head. I wanted to be prepared, as I always had been, and for any unexpected questions that might be tossed my way once I was on my feet at the head of that long boardroom table. The parking lot situated as it was in the midst of a decaying neighborhood, changing its character twice each 24 hours. During the evening and nighttime hours, it was occupied by vehicles that would have been sold for junk by any self-respecting used car dealer. These were the cars owned and by local apartment dwellers who had been unable to find a parking spot on the narrow street that bisected their soot-streaked buildings. Then each morning they all departed in a mass exodus to local and suburban factories, and the lot replenished itself with a collection of Mercedes, Cadillacs, Corvettes, and BMWs as attorneys, doctors, and Loyola University students came into the city from the suburban world to do their thing. I have to take a drink. Okay, at any other time of the year, the lot was a scabby blemish, a back-of-the-hand slap to every resident of the area. In all the years I had parked here, I had yet to see its downtown owners make any attempt to remove the litter, soggy newspapers, the tin cans, empty wine bottles that accumulated in their own little mountains of disease against the rusty chain-link fencing. The only thing the lot had going for it was that there was no other available public parking for 10 blocks. Today, however, with all the lots since buried under nearly 3 feet of snow, it reminded me of a stretch of California's Pacific Grove Bench, even to its white mounds, which only yesterday had been automobiles. Apparently, there had been no exits by the locals this morning. They had probably taken one look at their buried machines, now igloos, and either busted or went back to bed. Entrance to the parking lot was through 2 posts buried in concrete, set automatically 9 feet apart, upon which rested a large hollow iron bar gate to raise the gate. To get into the lot and park, you deposited 2 quarters in the slot of the chipped white metal box, waited for the gate to rise after it was tripped electronically by the coins, and then drove through. Then the car wheels depressed some sort of mechanism in the asphalt, automatically lowering the gate behind you. To leave the lot, you needed 2 more quarters to bail yourself out, unless you had a special key, which could rent for $20 a month. Keys were inserted into a special yellow box to activate the gate, both entering and leaving. After turning my attention from the bird-feeding Samaritan, I found my gate key in the glove compartment, pushed against the accumulated snow, which was considerably higher than the bottom of my car door, and stepped gingerly outside. Immediately, I became aware of the incompetency of a grown man dumb enough to wear low-cut rubbers on a day like this. The old man ceased his feeding operation long enough to glance my way and wave. The dog barked once, and then he silenced by some unintelligible words from his master. I nodded toward him and forced a weary smile. My good morning sounded strange and muffled in the noise-deadening snowfall. His response, in the deepest voice I had ever heard, seemed to reverberate off the buildings, the surrounding buildings. Once when Danny Thomas met radio commentator Paul Harvey, Danny had said, "You had better be God because you sure sound like him." This voice made my friend Paul sound like a timid choir boy. "I bid you greetings on this beautiful day." He had neither the strength nor the desire to dispute his words. I turned my key in the yellow box until I heard the mechanism activate. Then, half sliding, half walking, I returned to my car. Behind me, as I heard it respond for several thousand mornings, the gate creaked as it raised itself for my entrance. But no sooner had I backed in my car, ready to shift into drive and ease my way through the deep snow in the lot, then the gate crashed back down in its original horizontal position with a loud metallic clang. I sighed in frustration, shifted back into park, and reopened the car door, stepped back out into the cold snow, slid up to the yellow box, and turned my key again. The key rose once more, pointed its rusted tip toward the snow-filled heavens, and then fell back. Bong! Impatiently, I turned the key again, almost hard enough to snap it off this time. Same thing, a short in the wiring, perhaps. From all this moisture? No matter, there was no way I was going to get my car into the parking lot, and if I left it on the street, it was certain to be towed away. I just stood there, knee-deep in snow, cursing the idiocy of this aborted journey while I rubbed snowflakes out of my eyes. Just as I was beginning to doubt everything I had ever written or said about the value of perseverance, the bird-feeding stranger interrupted my self-pity. "Let me help you." That voice was truly something, and there was a hint of command as well as offer of aid in the resonant tone. He had moved close to me, and I found myself looking up into an amazing face, gaunt, heavily lined, set with large brown eyes. He had to be nearly 7 feet tall, because I'm no pygmy. I smiled and shrugged my shoulders at this Abraham Lincoln look-alike and said, "Thanks, but I don't think there's much we can do." The deep furrows around his eyes and mouth arched into the warmest and most gentle smile I had ever seen on a human as he gestured toward the recalcitrant gate. "It will not be difficult. Turn your key in the box again. When the gate rises, I shall step under it, grasp it with my outreached hands, and hold it until your car passes through. Then I'll let it fall." "That's a heavy gate." His laugh boomed through the lot. "I am old, but I am quite strong, and most certainly it is worth our efforts to relieve you of your problem. Carlyle wrote that every noble work seems at first impossible." "Carlyle?" "Yes, Carlyle Thomas, 19th century English essayist." I didn't believe this. I was standing in a snowdrift with an icy wind lacerating my face. My feet were soaked and freezing, and I was turning into a snowman while a long-haired 70-year-old hippie was giving me a mini course in English Lit. What else could I do? I'm a great believer in considering one's options, but I've only learned there are times and situations when you don't have any. I mumbled my thanks and waited while the old man gently tugged his basset toward the fence, where he removed the rope from his wrists and tied it through 2 links. Then he returned to my side and nodded. Almost hypnotically, I obeyed his silent command and turned my key in the box. Up groaned the gate bar. Then the old man stepped under it, and grasped the cold metal bar firmly just as it began to descend. It's not too clear about the next several minutes, although I've thought about it often. Perhaps the light and hurried breakfast and the long drive had finally taken its toll. I felt dizzy, and my vision seemed to shift out of focus, as if someone had smeared Vaseline on my reading glasses. Everything seemed diffused. A stranger tremor shook my body as I tried to fix on the apparition before me. Through the falling snow, I could see the wooden cross on his chest, and perhaps that's what triggered the illusion. Long hair, beard, hands extended at a 45-degree angle over his head. The gate bar, the crossbar, the patibulum, carried by the condemned man on his way to the Golgotha for his crucifixion. His voice, now touched with urgency, broke through my fantasy. "Hurry, drive in, drive in." I scrambled back into my car, shifted in low gear, gradually applied pressure to the accelerator. The tires grabbed, and I moved slowly back past the stranger, under the bar, and through the gate. I eased the car gently into the low spot among the drifts and cut the engine. My hands were trembling. My head was throbbing. My legs felt weak. Then I reached behind my seat, pulled out my attaché case, opened the door, and fell headfirst into the snow. I arose, brushed myself off, and locked the car. I turned toward the gate to thank the old man. The parking lot savior was nowhere in sight. Okay, that is it for chapter 1. Come back tomorrow, and I will start on chapter 2 of The Greatest Miracle in the World. If you were here even just for a minute, thank you so much, and have a great night. All right, bye.